Reporting from the Horaxis system, attached to the deployments of Forge World Centuria, Delta Macroclade, 2nd Cohort, 3rd Maniple, 1st Unit, 1st Clade. It's the Vox Cascadia podcast.
Connor, I said you could do the intro, and you said you weren't going to do a bunch of AdMech bullshit. What did you do?
A bunch of AdMech greatness.
That's the last time.
You're not going to get that. I'm going to get more intros in. Just you wait.
You probably will get more intros. Can they just like a little less AdMech? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good. It was a nice weekend. Can't complain. The sun was coming out, so that's always good. Doing more goodness as always, and enjoying the AdMech as always.
Yeah, I know. There's just never enough room for all the AdMech in your life. And then, Tyler, how you doing, buddy? How you feeling? I know you were a little under the weather this weekend.
Yeah, I'm feeling much better. So, it passed, which is good. I'd be worried if it didn't, But I got some hobby done today. Actually, I got my Nemesis Claw all assembled, and they're ready to paint up.
Nice. You got any special kit bashes or conversions on them, or did you go pretty straight from the book?
I pulled from like the whole assembly of Chaos kits, Raptors, Chosen, some of the what are the Devastators, Havocs for Chaos, just kind of like a motley bit of bits to get like the right feel. Sometimes it's about choosing the right head to make the guy feel right.
Now, we talked about previously on a previous episode your ventriloquar doing something Dark Angels themed to go with that feeling. Did you slap on a Dark Angels head on one of those guys or anything on the guy on the post?
Yeah, I was able to find a pretty good head from the Dark Knight or the Black Knight sprue that has the Dark Angel symbol on it, and it's a human head. So I think it's pretty dope. It needs a little bit of work. I need to size it down a bit, but it's looking good so far.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to see it. I myself spent another weekend at the coast with Jenna and her bestie and her bestie's boyfriend, and got my Night Lords pretty well built. I've got, I think, 7 of the 10 built now. I've got the main team, and I'm just working on filling out with some extra heavy gunners. And I think I just built the rocket launcher last night. I'm gonna do the bolter and the plasma. Or I got the plasma and the melta and stuff too.
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to just bring over my heavy gunners from my legionary team and skip repainting them, because they're not going to see the table too often, maybe a matchup or two, and just kind of focus on really doing up my new guys.
Well, I know yours are kind of painted up that way, but I actually have all the legionaries built too, but they are built from the other kit, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to paint them up as Night Lords, so then I could just run them both ways, and then I'd have the heavy gunners on there. Plus, I've got the leader magnetized on there if I wanted to bring the power fist and stuff too.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it's worth it. Then you can get one cool display board for all your units together, which is always dope.
I really kind of want to paint them in that Black Legion color though, the black with the gold outline. So I may still end up just doing both of them. One is Night Lords, one is just the Black Legion. I also picked up the Necromunda Ashways box because Connor was talking about how he was wanted to play some Necromunda, and I found it at Mindtaker for a really good price. And I went and I saw it in the store there, and I held off on picking it up, and then I went online and looked, it was gone. And then I was like, all right. And then a couple days later I looked and it was back. So I ended up picking that. So I've got the Ashways box to build up, and so we can get a Necromunda campaign going.
Nice. I'm glad for some Necromunda, because all you guys talking about the Night Lords had me feeling left out, because I'm one of the few people not building a Night Lords team. But Ashways, I can talk about that. I've been reading the rule books, not painting up, but getting my team built up together. So I'm very excited to try it.
Well, Connor, you're part of Chuck's book club, so you don't have to feel left out on all the Night Lords goodness, because we are reading Soul Hunter now. And I know, Tyler, you've read Soul Hunter before. I think you were diving back into it. I got about 15 minutes into it today, walking the dog and just starting it. But I know that other people in Chuck's book club, come find us on Discord, are just burning through that book. Connor, are you going to be reading that one?
Yes, especially after I somehow, just like an idiot, missed the book club discussion for the AdMech slightly in the Brittle Cunning book. So I'm very excited to try this one. I've heard great things, so I'll be interested to see if this actually does turn me into a Night Lords fan or not.
Yeah, we're going to have to do the book club meeting not on a Wednesday night next time so that I can actually join in.
Yeah, that Wednesday night's your Shiv night, isn't it? So we'll find another night to do it, and we may even be able to do it twice. Because, like as Connor mentioned, I was not going to throw you under the bus actually, but you brought it up that you were super excited. You were going to be able to talk Brutal Cunnin, you were going to be able to talk Admech, and you took a nap.
Yeah, I was trying to recover still from being sick, thank you, and it still hasn't worked. My voice is still a little scratchy, so I just overslept through the alarm like an idiot. So boy, do I feel foolish.
Well, are you starting in Soul Hunter then, or
Yes, I do have that on Kindle. I'm about 2 pages in.
nice? How is it so far? What's your review of it? 2 pages in.
Lots of words, pretty good.
I do. It is a lot of words.
Yeah, I mean, like they're definitely like pretty dense as far as the books go. They take a little bit to get started, I think, but they really start to pick up pace just a little ways in, and you start to get strangely attached to the characters.
Yeah, I'm like I said, 15 minutes in, so maybe a little more than 2 pages based on I don't know how fast Connor reads. If anybody is looking to join the book club, it's free. And I also can help you with a copy of Soul Hunter if y'all need access to one. So ping me on Discord and I can get you the hookup. So Connor, you were still recovering from the blunt force beatdown, but you had a tournament this last weekend, right?
Yes, like a fool, instead of taking a weekend off, I've decided to dedicate more time to Kill Team. Thankfully, it was a very enjoyable time with our one of our local tournaments type of deal. But we had it was 13 players, all ITD, and it was also my first time TOing, which was very exciting.
Where was it at?
Down in Tacoma for me, so up for you guys, but at Tacoma Games in Tacoma, Washington.
I've been there before. That's the one that's like right downtown Tacoma, right?
Not downtown, downtown. You might be thinking of Terracrux. This is like kind of a little bit more like not the suburbs, but less downtown is the best way I can describe it.
You are 100% correct. I am thinking of Terracrux. I've been at Terracrux. I've not been at Tacoma Games. But Tacoma Games is a pretty cool shop then. Is this a regular tournament they do or just happen to put one on?
Oh yeah, great space. Love going there. Go pretty regularly for just standard Kill Team nights. It's always an enjoyable time. Shout out to Ryan, Pete, and Patty, the employees I see the most there, and I think some of the owners as well. But yeah, it's a pretty regular event they do pretty much once a month. It got started by, of course, the beloved Brandon Bean, who's our normal TO while I am playing. But unfortunately, he couldn't make it this week. He had something going on with work, so congrats to him. That's exciting. Got a new job. But he couldn't make it. And he was like, well, Connor, do you want a TO? And I was like, I'm going to have to learn at some point, so I might as well. And it was a great time. Thankfully, it's a crew that knows the rules pretty well. We all are very familiar with each other, so I wasn't expecting any sort of real issues. And it went smoothly. It was very enjoyable.
So anything pop up through the tournament? I mean, what did you learn from it? This is your first TOing experience. I had my first TOing experience a couple weeks ago at Blunt Force. But what'd you think?
Yeah. Thankfully, not as big as Blunt Force, which is nice considering it was essentially just me up until about halfway through the third round. But the most hit or miss stuff was it was a lot. We had two Mandrakes and one Night Lords team, so I had to study their rules pretty well. And since it's all ITD, there's always going to be a little bit of weird stuff just because ITD introduces some weird mechanics that don't really come up clearly. But it was super enjoyable. Thankfully, answered a couple. The weirdest ones were some of the Mandrake secondaries, like how do they relate? Because they have something that's essentially like C's access points, but better. So it was interesting trying to come up with a way to make that secondary work essentially.
And then how'd the tournament shake out? Who was the winner? How many rounds did you guys play?
Only 3 rounds just because it's a smaller one and smaller player base as well, but ended up with 2 3-0s. But overall, first place went to Alex with his Felgor Ravagers. Alex is a really solid player. He's been training under Brandon just like I was for a while, so it's glad to see him. I think this is his second time. Like he got it 2 months ago or something, going 3-0. So that was super exciting. And then also another big community member, Sean, up in Bellingham. He went 3-0 with his Pathfinders on ITD, which is really cool to see Pathfinders do that well in the dark.
I think Pathfinder's after their most recent buff, out of nowhere, is doing really solid across all game formats at this point.
Yeah, I can definitely see it just because, like, being able to have the drones open the doors is a huge plus. And Sean's just a very experienced player, and he knows what he's doing with his Pathfinders. I can say that for sure. I saw him, like, I don't know if he did it, but he's discussed at times he doesn't even bring the weapons experts just so he can bring more guys that can do marker lights. And I know he fought the Mandrakes at one point, and pretty handily stomped them. So I'm not surprised to see if he probably just went full marker lights and just like, oops, you have six of them on you, and can just do all the shooting enhancements through that way.
I like to imagine when you say training under Brandon that he's got like a dojo, kind of like Cobra Kai, and just, is having you guys practice rolling dice and then chastising you because you're rolling dice incorrectly, and like setting you up for like movement and like slapping your hand with a ruler or something when you move a guy and he's in a bad shooting position. That's pretty much what it's like, right?
Yes, very similar. And for every time I bring up Admech, you bring up Cobra Kai or Karate Kid, so I'm just gonna have to start throwing shit at you for that. But yeah, if you want to join the dojo of the one and only Brandon Bean, sign up for his Patreon, patreon.com/Kiddo Crew.
Who is the Mr. Miyagi to Brandon is what I want to know. Because I assume we're in the Karate Kid arc fair like era. We have to go at least to the next edition before we transition into the Cobra Kai era of it.
Yeah, there's gosh, who would that be? If do we have anybody else who in the scene that kind of, I mean, is actually,
Greg,
or
maybe?
the or would it be more that like Brandon is the Mr. Miyagi and Jimmy Kelly is leading the Cobra Kai with his like Kel team?
I mean, I kind of like that. I We should check in with Jimmy, but like the aggression is kind of there, matches that Cobra Kai energy.
I can just see him screaming like sweep the leg, Johnny, except it's like sweep the leg Ezekiel or Elijah, or they've all got amazing names.
Like the way that they march in too, it's like very reminiscent of like the kind of chanting they did in Cobra Kai too.
I'm just expecting now the chanting. I haven't actually seen Karate Kid in quite some time, so I don't remember it too well. But I have seen Dodgeball a bunch, and I know the way that like the global gym guys come in and they do their little dance. So now I want to kind of enter Kill Team tournaments doing their little weird chant dance.
Oh yeah, Kel team like comes in full on at LVO. They had a banner, they had their own music intro. It was pretty impressive. So maybe that's what it is. And they're in California too, so that is where Karate Kid came from.
I can't wait to see their entrance at Killscream 3.
So speaking of tournaments, we have Tacoma coming up, and maybe I don't know, 11, 10 weeks ago, we brainstormed a team for me to play at Tacoma, and we came up with AdMech and we came up with Agents of the Imperium. And since then, I have played Agents of the Imperium a full 0 times, and I have painted one Skitari, and he's got the big gun on the wrong base. So I need help, gentlemen, to actually like decide on a team. Since then, I've played some Intercession, just pick me up games, and then Blades of Cain. I'm building Night Lords. I've got the Mandrakes built. Got access to pretty much most all teams, but I need to buckle down. I got like 2 months left.
I mean, what kind of team are you wanting to play again is the question.
I feel like I don't know. That's the problem. Is I'm having fun with Blades of Cain, and I feel like I did really good with Casterkin, and that was more of a team that I think fit me and my low mental load that I need for a team.
Okay. Have you thought about switching it up to something completely different, like in play style? Going maybe Mandrakes or Gellerpox or something like that that's extremely melee heavy, pretty aggressive in their play style.
I thought about it. I wanted to try out the Mandrakes. I've got them primed. I'm hoping to get a Zenithal on them this week and knock those out pretty quickly. I've got Felgor all. Felgor is 100% ready to go. They're all built and painted and everything. So that would be a big change from the Kasrkin. And since they've gotten a little bit of a nerf, they're not the big boogeyman now. So I wouldn't be. And I've had them painted and built since the beginning. So I just haven't played them.
Yeah, you could go melee specialists. They're definitely simple in the sense that you just got to kind of charge forward. You just got to be smarter than I was with them at Parade, or not Parade of Flights, but Tag Team Terror.
Maybe I'll run them out a little bit and see if I like that kind of melee style. I've got Gellerpox built and I've got them primed. So yeah, I gotta figure something out though, because I am just been. This is the same thing that happened when I ended up playing Casterkin for an entire year, because I played Casterkin, I won one of the Shiv tournaments, I put him away, I said I'm not going to play him again, and then I played Cops twice and they sucked and I hated them. So I got the Casterkin back out, and then I played Felgor a couple times, couldn't didn't really vibe with me at the time, and then put them away and went back to Kaskin, and it's just been Kaskin ever since. And I feel like the time is counting down, and I'm gonna go, and it's gonna be one of those like where I swore they'd never pull me back in, and there's my elite points again.
That's how I feel about AdMech, so I can kind of get it.
Have you guys settled on teams for Tacoma? I mean, Connor's playing AdMech. Tyler, have you settled on a team for Tacoma? Have you got a chance to play Night Lords or anything yet?
I've played a couple games with the Night Lords. They're feeling real good. My loyalty is pretty high to the Night Lords, so I'll probably play them. I really enjoy elite teams, and there's just a little bit more to them that gives them that bit of zest I really like.
The Night Lords definitely are the most like interesting elite team beyond maybe Phobos. But so I'm fully expecting to see probably like 6 of them at every event we go to, no matter the size from now on.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how much of that we see. We've got Colossal Cagematch coming up in a couple weeks, and just checking out the roster, we've got a couple people I think that are already on some of those teams. We got at least one Mandrake. Yeah, one Mandrake so far, but I know we've been seeing them around other tournaments, so hopefully we'll see a couple of them.
Yeah, I would definitely expect to see them show up and compete for the top spots there.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have the Colossal Cagematch happening. We got a ton of more signups recently, the past like week or so, which has been super exciting. If you haven't already, please do sign up. We're going to be ordering prize support soon, and I want to make sure we have as much as we can possibly give. But beyond that, we have a bunch of new names I haven't seen, so that's also kind of exciting too. If you're part of the Amatucky Club, please tag us in Discord because I want to figure out who you are.
Yeah, I saw the Amatucky. What's there? Is it just called Amatucky? Yeah, Amatucky all of a sudden popped up with like 5 people jumping into that tournament. I'm really curious about who they are too. David, you need to fix your name, by the way. David Kuhn, you need to fix your name on there. You got cats spelled incorrectly. But yeah, and yeah, if you're part of the Amatucky team, ping us in Discord and then talk some crap because cats are coming for you. Let's take a look. We're almost done. What do you say? We're almost done with season 3, you think? We'll have termination, and then is that going to be the final box of season 3, Tyler, or are we looking at more?
I mean, like, there's been rumors that there's a 3-box season out there. Termination sounds like the end of a season to me, so who knows?
So what would you say if we take a look back, a retrospective on Kill Team, the 3 seasons we've had so far? What was y'all's favorite Kill Team box that came out? And Connor, you can't pick AdMech, but what box would you guys say was your favorite that you saw? And I want, like, because you liked both teams, not just a team from the box.
I mean, it's really hard to beat like the first box. Octarius is like a monumental box. The 2 teams have stood the test of time. The terrain has stood the test of time. Yeah, it's like kind of the gold standard that I think we all really look for.
Octarius is definitely up there for me, but my biggest issue with the box is that unfortunately it doesn't come with enough vet guard to actually like give it that A+ rating, which is why my other top choice, despite me not liking the terrain too much, would be the original launch box for Into the Dark, because I love the Breachers. I think they're a super fun team, and I love the Crew. Also, great models, fun team, but unfortunately not the best. But I think the fact that both those teams arguably need like a second box to have a full roster brings it down. So if I'm going just like full, almost full box gets you what you need type thing, I'm going to have to go with the original Morok with the Phobos and the Blooded. Sure, the Blooded need a couple extra bodies and the Phobos need like a Reaver or 2, but you can proxy it. But I think both those teams have a ton of spice and flavor and fun to how they play. I think they can be really cool matchups against one another. And I think the terrain in it is really usable as long as you don't build the bunker in one solid shape and instead keep it as like the 2 separate L shapes.
So you spend 5 minutes saying, this isn't my favorite box because you have to have extra models for it, but then you pick a box that you need admittedly extra models for.
Yeah, is there a single box out there that doesn't require extra models in it?
I want to say Gallowfall, and I think that's my pick actually too, because I think you can build the goats all without any extra bodies, and then I think you can build the dwarves without extra bodies too and have a valid team.
Gallowfall was a fantastic box. I mean, both those teams, beautiful.
They are great teams. And you know what, Chuck? Listen, I admitted that both the Phobos and the Blooded need extra bodies, but technically they are both playable from release. You'll just kind of be slightly unoptimized compared to like Vedgar, where if you're only playing 10 bodies, you're going to be super unoptimized.
Yeah, and Felgor were just a joy to paint. Nick says that's a meme on this show. They talk about how fun it was to paint Felgor, but you paint Felgor and tell me they're not fun to paint.
Everyone says that, not even just our show, but just like you'll see comments in Discord or Reddit about it. Everyone seems to universally love painting them.
Yeah, putting their little faces on, like being like, "Oh, this is this goat's personality for me, and how I'm gonna paint him." It was so fun. It was so satisfying, start to finish. Easily the best kit I've ever built from Games Workshop.
It's nice because it's actually distinct guys, unlike the Mandrakes, where it's you. I can't tell them apart. I don't know how anybody's going to tell them apart without plates on the bases.
Yeah, Mandrake's not the clearest, unfortunately. Though, goats, like you said, really cool. I just looked at the sprue for the first time the other day because I heard that there was plenty of spare goat horns on them, and I wanted some for my Ash Waste Nomads. And holy hell, the amount of options you get is very exciting.
Yeah, for real, the options are crazy. There's so many different options that you can put on it. It's really really cool. Another thing I really liked about Gallowfall is it really vindicated me because I was saying that we were getting a Chaos Beastman team for like a year and a half before we got it, and then it came out and everyone was like, no, 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 it's gonna be a, like Space Hulk with Gene Stealers and stuff like that, and I was like, it's not. We're getting Beastman, and it finally came out at the end of season 3.
I feel like it was such a missed opportunity, though. You're on a Space Hulk and they don't bring out Terminators and Gene Stealers. I know y'all don't want Terminators in the game, but give me my Space Hulk back. I want Blood Angel Terminators in hallways against Gene Stealers.
I mean, it'd be cool if they released a separate game that was compatible with Into the Dark terrain for that.
I will say one thing about the Felgor is I think back to why they're so fun to paint. I think they're super fun to paint because they are one of the few teams, and I think Blooded fall into this too, is that you can paint them all differently, but they still look like a cohesive team. Because like if you did that with Space Marines or a lot of different teams, I think like Gellerpox gets away with it, maybe like Star Striders, but you can paint every single freaking Felgor differently, and it still looks like a cohesive team.
Very true. Just the overall vibes of the model has helped just because they are so unique. You don't see anything like them else or anything else like them in 40k. There's a little bit of like Chaos Beastmen in Sigmar or Old Fantasy, whatever it's called now, but they're just a unit that stands out especially well. It just helps to, like you said, you can paint them kind of however you want, but it just works because a herd of goats isn't going to be looking the exact same even in real life, so it works really well for painting too.
So what was y'all's least favorite box?
I can't remember the name right now. I'm blanking. Shadow Vaults, I think was that the Necron and Kasrkin one.
Yes, it was.
That would be the box, not because I dislike the models. I think both teams have great models, and I like both teams now. But when they came out, the rules for both of them were just so weak, and especially the Necrons, it just felt so unfun to play that I'm shocked those teams sold at all.
Yeah, 100% agree. That was by far the worst box we got as far as a mainline season box, just because it was just the teams are so underpowered for what they should be. I think that they're at a really great spot right now, really balanced within the rest of the teams. The other box that stands out as worst box is Ashes of Faith. That box was a problem from the beginning.
Yeah, Ashes of Faith, their giant mutant hordes that did everything better than any other team, was pretty rough. Yeah, just thinking about it now, Kasrkin came out, I think, still at like 7 wounds. They didn't even have as many elite point generation as they did now. The fact they hit on 4s was a big struggle for a lot of people, just because, like, Scions hit on 3. Why did Kasrkin, who are almost as good, if not as good, hit on 4s? I think even on release, if they hit on 3s, they'd still be probably one of the worst release teams as stands right now. Much better now, thank God. Probably don't need to hit on 3s, but I wouldn't complain.
I would have to choose Soul Shackle, and you get 5 Chucky bucks if you can guess why I choose Soul Shackle as my least favorite box.
Because you hate the cops, and you're actually a criminal mastermind.
No.
Damn incorrect. Right. ACAB.
No, it's because the freaking Torment Grenade is in there.
Wait, do you dislike the Torment Grenade? You've never mentioned it before.
I, Connor, I say it all the time. It's like to the point of annoying. Even my girlfriend probably knows that I don't like the torment grenade.
I somehow missed all of that. My bad.
Well, I mean, I black out when you talk to.
Okay, come on.
No, actually, I that was probably my least favorite box. That's the one team. Hand of the Archon is the one team I sold it to Fabi, and Fabi's are in it. Great, because I wasn't really interested in them. And then the cops, I actually bought an extra box of cops off Tyler, and they have been hot garbage ever since they started. And I painted the whole freaking roster, so that's probably why it's my least favorite box.
I do have to say the cops have amazing sculpts, and they inspired a cool shirt. So, I don't have too much beef against them.
They finally gave me a bit for a human or a Imperium aligned heavy stubber as well, which is nice because the only heavy stubbers I know of in human scale are on Chaos guys. So I'm glad for the cops existing just for that single bit alone.
They did have some great butts on the sculpts too, though, so that was nice.
Also, we mentioned it like a couple minutes ago, and I haven't been able to butt in yet. But the concept of a Gene Stealer versus Terminator box, definitely think it could be cool. And now that the Patriarch is all but confirmed, the possibility of like double activations on the same model, this is two separate times, I'm more willing to accept Terminators in Warhammer or not Warhammer, but in Kill Team. But maybe like three of them, they can each double activate, and they're like one or two servo skulls. So like kind of Horror Tech, still probably be a little bit more crazy than it needs to be, but I'm at least open to the idea of it being introduced if they did it that way.
I hate that idea. They are way too strong. The Terminator is like way power scale, like way too crazy. Like anytime you're going to get a model like activating twice in a turn, that's going to get nuts unless you're making them like 2 APL and 4-inch movement, and then it's just weird. Like I don't know. I'm strongly against Terminators. Period. I don't even think Custody should be in the game. Sorry, Custody's lovers. Like they're just like power scale wise in universe. That's like bad shit's coming for you. Like a Terminator shows up, like that's like bad news. You're not surviving. Like if you're a regular person, like how's a blooded, like a regular cultist, like gonna survive a fucking Terminator?
Melt a gun with AP2. No, that's very true. It would definitely destroy the scale of the game, probably. But from my limited knowledge of Gene Stealers and Tyranids, is the Patriarch like almost on that level, if not already on a level over Terminator?
Yeah, I mean, like a single patriarch is like pretty crazy for the game, I think. However, an entire team of Terminators, like a squad, like four of them, three of them, would be like power scale wise, just incredibly difficult to balance, I think.
That's fair. I can definitely agree with that. I don't know how they balance it. I just think I can see it if they want to do some sort of thing of like double activations. Think that's the first step you'd have to do if you even want to attempt to introduce them. Though personally, I still wouldn't really want to because I just don't like the look of Terminators. And I'm a heretic for that, but it's true. I just don't think they look cool. I'd rather have normal Gravis armor Marines before we get Terminators.
You just got to play Justian, then you got your Gravis armor there.
I will die before I play Justian. Justian is what I want Intercession to be, but even less baked than Intercession.
What would y'all like to see in the future? We have Termination that's been announced with the Hernkin Jaegers. I think I got it right this time. Not the Pioneers. And the Gene Stealers with the Patriarch, which you're all talking about. What would you like to see? Don't say AdMech.
I'm going to say AdMech. Listen, I can understand Tyranid players being upset about not getting Gene Stealers on a Space Hulk. And I can understand Marine players being upset about Terminators not being on a Space Hulk because, like, that's kind of their whole thing from what I remember. However, the current season takes place on a Forge world, and there was some heavy implications of some AdMech team. And while I disagree with a lot of people that call Hunter Clade not bespoke, that's crazy. They're 100% a bespoke team. I would like a box team of them. It's probably not going to happen. I don't think there's any close to rumors or the actual rumor engine images that could represent it. And we probably might not get that fourth box, but I'm going to be so sad if there's not an AdMech one.
Okay, so for your AdMech box, I will give you 1 minute because you will talk for 45 if we don't cut you off. What would you make your bespoke AdMech team?
So, if it's on the Forge world, ideally a Tech Priest. But my dream AdMech box would be something like the Sekutari, which are Forge World models that were the Skitari with like the galvanic casters and the shields. They're essentially like Skitari dedicated to protecting Titans. Like the entire concept of a Titan is that they have Sekutari guard that make sure they can't get boarded. Kind of what like they failed to do in Brittle Cunning, which was going to be a whole point of topic for me. Anyways, I would love for a plastic team of them because I think they're incredible models, but I don't want to pay like $80 just to get 10 guys and half of that be resin. That sucks. So I'd love like a proper bespoke team of Sekutari, which are like that, like, almost elf profile, fighting world eaters. And the terrain would be destroyed like Titan terrain.
Hey, you made it with 4 seconds to spare.
I did start like looking at the clock a little bit. But yeah, I would love for world leaders to also get a proper bespoke team because legionaries are fun, but I just want a full team of corn butchers, essentially.
So I just completely blanked what I was going to say. Like, gone. Oh, it's back. Did you see that we are getting Sekutari in plastic here sometime soon for Horus Heresy, probably?
I I have not seen if it was confirmed Sekitari. I just know that they teased the AdMech logo and then Mars and then put the Horus Heresy thing on the same like night they announced the termination box. So I haven't seen Sekitari. I'll have to go look at that right now because I'm very excited by that news.
Tyler, do you have a dream box that you'd like to see or content you'd like to see in the future?
I would like to see Black Sentinels show up as like a playable thing from
What
the
are
lore.
those?
That is the armed branch of the Astra Telepathica. They're like special foot soldiers that are shielded against psychic stuff. Some of them are psychers themselves. Really cool. They're like from the Horus Heresy. There's like very little lore about them, but I'd like to see them fleshed out. Like pull deep from the stuff there.
So who's your team to fight against them? Because you gotta be probably like a psychic team to fight against them, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I think that we could see like the Crave would be really cool if we're getting weird with it, which they're like space vampires that psychically control people. So like they could have some like cultists that like pull people around. You could also do it against like maybe a Tyrannid psyker thing because we just got those like neurothropes and like all the little like psychic bugs and stuff. So like that would be a cool pairing, I think.
That sounds super cool, and I'm always amazed at your ability to pull something from deep in the lore that I've never heard of.
Yeah, speaking of that, what was the first? The Black Arm? Black Reach?
It's the Black Sentinels.
Black Sentinels. Okay, that I'm gonna have to go look that up because that sounds cool as shit. That would be a pretty sweet box. Ideally, after my AdMech versus World Leaders box. And now I also got to tell you, Tyler. I just googled the Secretary. Where have you seen these rumors? Because nothing's popping up for me except like year-old Reddit results.
Yeah, I saw rumors somewhere. I don't remember where, but it was everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this is Secretary." I think it may have been the like some of the rumor engine stuff plus the announcement.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna have to go do some deep crawling now because I'm. Oh God, I know if that Horus Heresy gets plastic AdMech, there goes an entire other purchase of AdMech stuff for me, which is gonna be so fun.
I would like to see a legit Inquisitor team. So maybe something like the Hyrotech or the new Gene Stealer or the Patriarch, where you have the Inquisitor is the most powerful model out there, and he's got some special stuff, and he's got a retinue around him with maybe an interrogator who sucks as much as the interrogator does in the current agents, but balances out a little more. So you've got kind of the people running around him, but actually a legit Inquisitor on the board, because that was what I wanted when Agents came out, and I was wildly disappointed because I was right in the middle of all the Eisenhorn books and so excited about it, and it's the worst leader in the game.
That's fair. It is statistically and just by playing the worst leader in the game. I still think it's a pretty cool team. I think there's a lot of strength there, but unfortunately, just a bit of a pain in the ass to build Sid team. However, Chuck, we were talking about Blackstone Fortress the other week. I saw like someone's like like on a very similar thread like Dream Kill Team thing. They take those guys from Blackstone Fortress and throw them in a box with the combat arena guys. So like that other Rogue Trader lady, the guy with the metal helmet and the shield, the robot, and then the original techno archaeologist model. Make a kill team out of those somehow.
That's all just Blackstone Fortress stuff, dude. Like all of that was just in Blackstone Fortress, like expansions and stuff like that. So Combat Arena was like a knockoff to repackage some of those models and get them back out to the public, just like the Trader Commissar and Mutant Ogren, Chaos Ogren from Blooded were originally in the Escalation pack against the guys from Combat Arena.
Tyler's impressive knowledge of Warhammer stuff continues. That's good to know. And you said already the Trader Commissar and the Ogren, they came to Kill Team. So why not those other guys? Ideally, it'd be a great way to get those sick ass models out to the public without having to drop like $300 in the UK alone just to try and get that box.
I would like to see like maybe Crusaders come back like on an Ecclesiarchy team. That'd be cool. A different take on Ecclesiarchy other than Novitiates would be dope. Or like maybe, Power Armored Sisters. As much as people want them, I just like to see weird stuff in Kill Team personally.
No, that's totally fair. Like Kill Team's the best because you can introduce a bunch of weird stuff. Like as as much as I love them, the crew are kind of weird. Up until they even getting into the dark box, they were very low known by the community or like even cared about. So the fact they got one was super exciting. And then same thing with like the RBDs. We've had a couple teams now that are essentially just deep pulls from the lore that, for all intents and purposes, don't really fit the broader Warhammer 40k game. So it's awesome when they can pull those teams up, like similar Blooded as well, to actual like Kill Team and give them a place in the universe and give us some great models to create that you're not really ever going to have a reason to explore with in 40k.
So speaking of some re-releases and stuff that's coming out in the box games, we have the Darktide box coming out, which we talked about it last week and about getting it and forcing our partners to play. I mean, getting our partners to play it with us. Well, I was watching Auspex Tactics before we convened this evening, and it turns out he's saying the price on Darktide for the box is going to be $110. What do you guys think of that price point?
They better have some new models in that box to tempt me at all. Like even 65 is going to be a hard press for me.
Yeah, 110. If that's the price point, that's gonna suck. Because ideally, I was hoping to be somewhere in like 60 to 100. Pre-tax. Because I think there is something like 30-ish models in it, which is not a bad amount of models. But considering none of them really are anything that unique, that's a bit of a shame.
Well, sounds like you're getting 10 blooded. You're basically getting the blooded kill team, I think, without the commissar and without the ogren, and probably without the upgrade sprue. I don't know if it comes with the upgrade sprue or not. But then you're also getting some poxwalkers and you're getting 4 heroes. But it just seems like for that price, it should be closer to like $40 or $50 price point based on how they price these boxes in the past. And it's kind of the gateway drug that you get at Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, at this price, like it seems like they'd just be better pushing Blackstone Fortress again, or maybe like a reduced Blackstone Fortress. Like they already have all the stuff printed up and everything. Just seems weird to create a whole nother game. Like the price is just like so similar, you know.
Yeah, it seems like a really high price point. I'm really hoping it's not that high because I'm going to buy it anyways and I don't want to pay that much for it. All right, let's take some community questions from Ask Vox Cascadia on the Kill Team Cascadia Discord. So, frequent question asker, Adelaide has some questions for us. So, the first question is if you had to give the Necrons a second bespoke team, what would they get?
It would definitely be like a destroyer cult, maybe like Flare possessed on that, more aggressive, melee focused, very different.
So, are you thinking like Scorpec destroyers, like the big boys?
Maybe like one or two of those, and then like a bunch of flayed ones or something.
What's the Hex guy? Hexmark destroyer? I'd like to see him get in there because anybody who's got 6 guns and can teleport in your back line would be super fun.
I think that'd be really cool. Maybe like you'd be able to take like one destroyer and then some flayed ones and warriors or something like that.
What if we go like big leader, kind of like the higher tech circle, but we go Trazen and he gets his like Pokeball things and can tie your guys up and capture you at the end of the game. He has some amazing narrative campaign rules.
I don't know how I feel about named characters in Kill Team, like other than the rogue traders, like a galactic scale villain or hero or however you see him coming into Kill Team just seems nutty to me.
Yeah, that'd be a big change if they add him. Definitely, they could probably do just like legally distinct tracing because there's probably a Necron out there besides him that has like his own little museum. I think that was in fact when looking at the narrative rules for the current Heretic Circle, that was one of the options for their backstory was like collector. So that'd be kind of fun. If I was to design one though, I would ideally want the Lich Guard, and I can't remember what the other version of them, but coming from the same box would be. But they very similar, like kind of elite powerhouses, but very melee focused. And I think their models are so cool. And if they wanted to do what they do with the Heretic, where there's like a slight upgrade sprue to them, I think they could do a lot of cool things of like Necron melee specialists, which would be really fun.
What about a Canoptic Destroyer or the Canoptic Doomstalker? The one that's like a foot tall with a giant cannon, just sit in the back line of sight on everything, always has vantage.
I'm okay with him as long as I get my Sidonian Stratos to replace my current AdMech sniper guy.
All right. And Adelaide also asked, speaking of Necrons, can any of you do an evil laugh that sounds like a Necron laugh?
Normally, I would attempt this, but I'm pretty sure if I do that, I will continue to screw up my voice for another week. So maybe next Tuesday, I can try and do something like that for you again, Adelaide. I'll have to go and play the Mechanicus game again to get used to their laugh. I haven't played that in a while, but their voice acting in it is very fun.
Connor, step up and just do it.
I guess I can't even remember really what I just remember they made them sound very prim and proper British, which was fun, but I can't do the laugh right now. I'm sorry, Chuck.
I
Next
just feel
week,
like
I promise.
it'd be like a ah 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 ah.
Like a robotic version of the Count from Sesame Street.
Kinda, yeah, actually.
They do like to count. Necrons are robots.
I feel like they would have like no cadence to it at all. It would just be repeating, almost ad mechy. Although I guess they are like, I mean, their souls are, they have their souls stolen from them or something, right?
So I think it'd be kind of like raspy and like throaty, like or breathy, because like they're like supposed to be space undead, you know. So I guess it'd be like kind of like a lot of like inhaling, like as they laugh, you know.
See, I think I hear just like General Kenobi from like a Necron. That was four lightsaber guy from Star Wars.
Oh, of course. I know who General Kenobi is. Come on.
No, General
Or
Kenobi
not
does
General
not have
Kenobi, but
lightsabers.
General
General
Grievous.
Kenobi. So
He
General
fought
Kenobi is
Kenobi a bunch,
he's
okay?
actually Obi-Wan Kenobi. Old Ben Kenobi, in fact, that like he somehow hit out on the desert of Tatooine, just like changed his first name to Old.
It would work, Star Wars is a big place. Spoiler alert for the Andor show, but that's like 2 years old at this point. But there was they had Cassian Andor in prison, and they were still searching for him in a different department because it's a giant bureaucracy, just like 40K, and it's supposed to show how inept they are.
Yeah, but like FTL is so big in Star Wars. Like that's why it's always the same fucking 8 people showing up everywhere doing everything in Star Wars.
Yeah, you're a Star Wars hater though, Tyler. So
I don't hate it. It's just like it's a good series, but like it's not a great setting, if you know what I mean.
all right, and then Michael had a question about pace of play. Do y'all have general goals / tips for tournament play and turning point 1 and 2 clock management? Seems like 75% of critical action happens in the first 2 turning points in many games, and it's hard to gauge how much time to spend on the first half of the game.
So it's definitely going to depend on your play skill and what team you're playing. You don't want to give your opponent too much time left on the clock towards the end, but you also don't want to not leave yourself enough clock. Realistically, though, it's the last 2 turning points that make the most difference in most games. That's where you're going to score the most crucial victory points. So really like kind of have a game plan when you get set up, when you're deploying your people. That first turning point should be fast. Unless there's something crazy going on, someone misplayed really bad and someone's going out of their way to really make like a extreme activation. There really shouldn't be anything that slows down that first turning point. You should have it done 30 minutes from the time that you're fully deployed and all of that stuff, I would say. And then from there, focus on the next turning points for the rest of the 2 hours.
I think a big part of it comes with the setup actually is. So making sure that you have some distinct goals as far as like maybe what 3 to 4 objectives you want to take, setting up where you want to strike. Because I know that I think what takes the most time in my games is when I deploy my guys, realize I deployed them like an idiot, and now I have to take time to figure out how to get myself out of that problem.
Yeah, deployment is definitely a key thing. Not only to just like getting better at the game, but definitely the pace at which you can play. One of the biggest problems I saw when I was TOing the past weekend was just there's always going to be players that are a little bit slower, but where they spent a decent amount of their time was in deployment, and that just slows down the entire game because if you're spending too much time over analyzing deployment, you're just not going to be in the right headspace to actually take the actions you need to do in order to score. Because either you're going to end up running the clock out so long that you're going to miss points by not being able to finish turning point four and miss primary objectives through that, or you're just going to be so over you're going to be so over analyzing everything that you're not willing to make the risks because it could go wrong. And as much as Kill Team is a dice game, it rewards aggression for 90% of the teams in the game. So you want to make sure that you're taking those aggressive moves in order to, A, put pressure on your opponent, B, speed up the clock, and C, score points so you can win.
Connor, you mentioned in the past in the Brandon Miyagi Bean dojo that y'all would play like turning points 1 and 2 and then reset. Do you think that's helpful?
Absolutely. Ideally, the main thing you'd be doing is playing with a team you really enjoy, at least on one side, so you can get used to recognizing, like, if you're doing this on TTS, especially, that's the main thing I'd recommend doing. But trying to figure out just by at a glance, figuring out like, oh, I can put my gunners here and my melee specialist deployed over here, and there's a clear line or angle of attack for them through these angles. Stuff like that will really speed up your game. It's part of the reason why I continue to bring Hunterclade over and over again beyond just loving them. But anytime I go to a tournament, I can look at a map and see, okay, these are going to be areas that reward my Rust Stalkers because I can move them up safely the first turn and then punch through a doorway for a charge. Or like, here's a vantage point I can reach with a move and a dash, and then on turning point 2, my gunners can activate and have vantage over half the objectives. Stuff like that, where you can just kind of walk up to a board and instantly see like 2 or 3 paths will speed up your game so quickly and allow you kind of what I said to have that first 30 minutes to speed deployment and setting up like turning one. Because 80% of the action, unless you're an Alpha Strike team, is going to happen turning points 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think you have some really good points there with taking a look at the boards and kind of getting that plan of action in place, making sure that when pairings go up, you go to your table a little bit early, that you walk around to both sides so that you don't only see the board from one angle. Seeing it from both sides is a huge thing. Sometimes you won't see something when you're looking at it from one direction, but you will from the other. Kind of get that, like they said, that general idea of what you're going to be doing, where you're going to be going, get stuff moving, prepare to set up and get your dice down and your objective selected for everything, because you already know by the time your opponent's there what you're going to be doing.
Absolutely. And another thing too is I know a lot of people aren't like me. They jump from team to team every couple of months, or just they like to try out new teams, which is always definitely encouraged. It's how you learn the game the best, arguably, after you get familiar with one team, is just playing other teams so you can kind of realize combos they have. But what you'll start to recognize is that, every team has a slew of specialists. A lot of those specialists can be boiled down to something like gunner, utility guy, melee specialist, sniper, things like that, where you'll start to recognize that, yeah, sure, the bow guy and the long sight and the crew, they're both different guys, but they serve the purpose of like, I can have them get on a vantage point, use silent to shoot, or one of their heavy profiles to do stuff. And I want them to be overwatching an objective to put pressure on my opponent not to touch that. And that's going to play very similar to the Fate Dealer, I think is what they're called, the Eldari sniper guy. And you'll realize that a lot of maps, or not a lot of maps, but rather a lot of teams will, despite having very drastic different rules, will have these similar archetypes of guys that are going to want to be deployed in very similar ways and do very similar actions, no matter the team. So just getting used to being able to recognize that from the map will speed you up no matter what team you're playing.
I think one thing too is that I think turning point 1 and 2 are going to be the longest turning points. At least I find that turning point 1 and 2 end up being really long. And by the time you get to 3 and 4, stuff moves a lot quicker, anyways, because there's less models on the board. And I think some of the plays open up a little bit more too about what you're going to do during your turning points.
Absolutely. Turning point one is definitely a lot of moves just because you have to move all your guys, even though sometimes there's not a ton of action, maybe like only one or two attacks. But like you said, by turn two, generally like a third to a half of each person's team's gone or dead, unless you're playing elites. But if you're playing elites, each of you, then your game should be in 2 hours, no problem. But beyond that, while you're in turning point two, after you're starting to get through like the first half of it, start to try and realize like, okay, I know this flank, all the operatives have gone on my side, and there's only one left on my opponent, and he's not going to kill me or something, or I know what he's going to be doing. While you're doing that, try and think about what those operatives are going to do if you win initiative, or what trade off you're going to make if you lose initiative. So that way you can just go onto the turning point ready to play and not be, over analyzing at the start of the new turning point what strategies and what ploys and everything you're going to be needing to use.
One thing I've heard as well too that some players will do is, especially if you're worried about your pace of play, is play on a clock and give yourself, especially in training and not super competitive games, is give yourself 30 seconds to make a move, like start to finish. Give yourself 30 seconds to do something. And I think this isn't gonna, something you want to do at a tournament, but something to help you more quickly analyze your situation. I think it could be helpful for pace of play in that.
One more thing that I want to say about pace of play that really helps is get rid of your cards. You should know the basic stat line of your team and kind of get a reference sheet if you need. Having 15 cards out or one card for each of your dudes, and then equipment and your tac ops and all that stuff, that slows down your play between setup and then cleanup and then getting everything ready to go, pulling it all out. It's just a lot. And then looking through stuff. A book, especially if you go get it spiral bound, will be faster 100% of the time.
Also, try and reduce the amount of tokens you have, at least in terms of what those tokens do. Like, there's never a reason you need to have an injury or a token, Like, this character's injured. Just use a dice to represent that. If they drop beneath your half point, they're injured. Stuff like that. I know it's fun to use the tokens, especially because they're giving us a bunch of them now in the new boxes. If you're going to use tokens, or if you want to use stuff to represent equipment, use rubber bands. They go on way easier, and there's this one less thing you got to move with the model because they'll stick with the model.
Tyler, what you said kind of brings us into our next question about knowing your team. But what are some good questions to ask your opponent in a tournament against a team you've never played? And this question comes from Sean.
Generally, I'll ask my opponent if they have any gotchas, straight out. Do you have ways to change from conceal to engage other than when you're activated normally, like say first turning point, stuff like that? Are you able to forward infiltrate? Do you have like obscuring, ignoring stuff? Do you have any way to remove conceal? So can you take me out of conceal with your abilities? Are you able to like countercharge? Just kind of like a quick, give me your gotchas for the team.
That's pretty much what I always go with. Tyler covered the 3 of the 5 questions I always ask at the beginning if I don't know the team, but which is, do you have a way of swapping conceal to engage or any sort of obscuring? That was one thing he mentioned. The second, do you have any forward deployments? Stuff like extra recon dashes like Felgor or Pathfinders have, or actual forward deployments like, the Sneaky Git. Number 3, how much blast and AP does your team have? Do you have like super scary grenades or like a bunch of gunners? Things like that are good to know just to make sure you're watching out for specific models. Like, okay, that's your gunner, and I need to keep an eye out on where they're positioned, especially during deployment. Number 4 is, do you have any guys that can fight first? Because I don't want to charge into someone if they have a parry first, because that can always kind of break points pretty awkwardly for yourself, and can be a bit of a slap in the face when you charge someone. Then like, cool, I kill you first, and you're like, oh, that's not what was supposed to happen. And then number 5, do you have any sort of ways to just increase your movement? Because generally a lot of teams are just kind of at that 6-inch normal movement. Some are a little bit lower, some are a little bit faster. But just being aware of like, oh, this character when they move can always ignore traverse, or can go an extra 2 inches when making a normal move. Stuff like that. It's good to notice so you can measure threat ranges.
And I think when you're explaining your team to your opponent, stuff like Navy breachers, like breach and clear plus blitz and all of that, how it works in conjunction, and then you're just like retaining stuff and doing all this thing. It gets very confusing the first time you encounter it, so try to give people a warning on that. Let people know what's going on with your team so they're not blindsided, hopefully.
Plus, ideally, don't be afraid to show them the book or the Waha page or the printed page, whatever you have. Especially if it's a team like Hunter Clay where we've been changed like 6 times. Try and have just a physical copy of the rules plus then like the printed out FAQ and balanced data slate, because sometimes reading just helps it go a lot smoother than just trying to explain verbally. Especially like doctrine imperatives, they're a complicated thing trying to explain to someone who's never gone up against them. So I can just show them the book and be like, "Here's what they do." I can give you a brief explanation, but here's everything they do, and that way the opponent doesn't feel like, oh, I misunderstood and you won that game because I didn't realize you could do that. It's just not a good feeling to like win because your opponent feels like you cheated them or they just misunderstood. So it's trying to be a clear opponent and answering, giving them a heads up at the beginning of like, oh, this ploy I can do something very powerful. Let me tell you what it does.
Yeah, I think it's also important to know that you can ask questions again too. At least I am asking all the time. Like, if I don't know a team that I'm playing against, I'm asking, what's that guy's stat line? What's that guy do? Multiple times, because I just forget. And you're going to look at teams and you're going to see a bunch of operatives out there that look kind of the same. Maybe you're playing mandrakes and they all look the same. So I think not being afraid to ask your opponent clarification questions on what a person does, so you don't get yourself in trouble and find yourself charging into a guy with a fight first.
And like Connor said, making sure that you have your rule book on you so that you can clear up stuff, incredibly important. If you're asking for clarification, like Chuck is recommending, which is excellent, always ask what people do. Ask for clarification. What operative is that again? Okay, they're the one that fights first. They're the one that does this. What's their basic profile on there? Asking those questions, your opponent should be answering them for you or provide you with the rule book to clarify anything. If they don't have their rule book, you should definitely call a TO over. Having your rule book is part of being prepared for a tournament, or printed out copy, something like that.
Then we had from our Instagram, actually, Keaton Owen asked for our team's personal lore or some painting tips. So me personally, my team's lore is exactly what you read in the book, because I am not creative and can't take the time to make up any lore. And my painting is right from the book too. But as far as painting tips, me personally, what I would say is just put paint on. I think that Slap Chop, or I can't remember what the real name is a great way to get your team on the board quickly. The contrast paints are amazing. I think they do great work. You can take them to the next level too. And just sitting down and putting paint on miniatures is going to get your team painted. And a painted team always looks better than a gray plastic team. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get. Taking time to take a painting class is really good too if you have a chance. Maybe there's going to be some coming up at Killstream 3. Who knows? But I think that's super important for painting too. If you have some time between playing in the tournament and taking a painting class, I think that's a really good way to improve your technique, because you're going to have somebody who knows what the heck they're doing actually there giving you professional advice on what you're doing and watching you actually do it, rather than just submitting a picture into Discord, which is great, but it's not anywhere near as good as getting that hands-on training from someone.
Yeah, I think that just painting, it's all repetition. The first time you do something, you're not going to be great at it. The thousandth time you do it, you're going to be much better than you were the first time. Keep painting and then push your boundaries. Don't get comfortable. Try new stuff. Try it on new models, or just crappy little models, one-offs that you have. Don't be afraid to experiment and just get out there, try new products. You may find something you really enjoy that's not the mainstream.
I think that also, like you said, trying new things, maybe picking like one thing on a kill team, and you're going to try and do that better than you've done it before. Maybe it's edge highlighting, or maybe it's OSL of some sort, or maybe it's to make your metallics look cooler, or maybe it's faces. I did that with my Hearthkin team. Is of the 14 models I painted, I think maybe 2 of them have helmets on and the rest have faces, because I wanted to work on painting faces. So I think picking one thing for the team you're working on and just learning that new technique and getting better at that one piece.
Absolutely. I think like creativity can really excel in kind of constrained ways. When you're giving yourself limitations on what you're doing or a focus, I'm really trying to work on this, or I'm trying to, I'm only using these colors, and everything has to be either directly these colors or a mixture of these colors to get what I want. Really changes the way you look at the model and how you approach it, and can show a lot of growth in a short period of time through that focus.
Connor, you've got personal lore for your robots, right?
Oh yes, a whole host of it. Fully agree with the painting tips. Just putting paint down is always good. And my personal advice is don't leave your bases blank or anything like that. Try and put a lot of effort into them. They're really fun to do, and in my opinion, a boring base is the worst type of thing. It's like a nice suit without a good tie, or a great meal without a solid drink to go with it. A good base will just make your models pop out that much more. Don't be afraid to just try basic texture paint. It's super super fun, and to me, the most enjoyable part of painting the model is actually doing the base.
Yeah, remember, not based is not painted as far as painting scores go.
Very true as well. But yes, I have a whole host of lore for my Forge World that could probably fill up 3 podcasts worth of me just talking and rambling about it. So we're not going to go too far in depth. We'll just do a very quick thing. All the Skitarii in my army are vat-grown clones, essentially kind of what the Krieg are. Whoops, I didn't realize that when I came up with that decision. But I wanted a Star Wars clone army in 40k, and I wanted my Skitarii to kind of have like a better relationship and still a bit of anonymity with one another. So they're essentially kind of how the clones are in the Star Wars universe. They're like that. There's still kind of people, even though they're all clones. They each have their own unique personalities and names they give each other beyond their ident codes. And the level of care they get from their tech priests is very dependent on the tech priests. Some are kind of assholes, and some are pretty cool to their clones or to their Skitarii, like Anakin and Obi-Wan were to theirs. So that's that.
Sorry, what happened? I blacked out.
Admech is awesome, and you smell.
You know, you maybe have some perceptive olfactory senses, but I showered today.
Proud of you, Chuck. You'll get the gold star for today.
Thanks. I don't have to do it for the rest of the week.
No, you still do.
Also, I have to disagree with you on the suit and tie thing. I think that a suit without a tie is actually a lot of the times a better look than a suit with a tie.
That's okay. That's totally fair. I'm just trying to come up with a good analogy for why you should base your models.
Are you going to get one then?
I said it's like a good meal without a good drink.
I'll accept that.
I don't know if you guys heard that. Sierra in the background shouted, "What do you mean you don't have my drink?" from the wonderful SpongeBob episode, Krusty Krab Pizza. So if that didn't come up, my bad.
I've never seen an entire episode of SpongeBob.
Chuck, you've never seen a SpongeBob episode? We're changing that at ChuckyCon 2025. We're going to watch the pizza episode. It's like 10 minutes and it's great.
I think Chuck may be too old for SpongeBob.
Incorrect. There is no such thing as too old for SpongeBob because we're all Warhammer nerds, so we're all a little bit of goofy goobers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like post Pokemon, post SpongeBob. I'm old, buddy. I'm looking closer at Social Security and I'm hoping that's around in a few years.
Yeah, like Ren and Stimpy is, more Chuck's speed.
Ren and Stimpy is about my time, but I didn't have cable growing up, so I never got the chance to watch that either. So I don't think I've ever seen more than a few minutes of Ren and Stimpy.
That was a little too old for me, just because I was not around when it was on, but I was around for SpongeBob. And Chuck, we will watch that single episode of SpongeBob just so you can kind of get it and you can relate with all us kids or not even kids. I'm an adult too, but all the kids of us in the KTC server that are kids to you because we're like 20 something years younger.
Yeah, I've been driving longer than you've been alive.
That's so weird.
It really is weird. SpongeBob, Ren and Stimpy. I've tried to watch Adventure Time. Have you guys watched Adventure Time?
Yeah, Adventure Time's fine. It's like very cutesy. I see you more as like a regular show.
I was just about to say that. Oh my god, I've been rewatching that on Hulu because I have the Hulu that has ads now, but that show doesn't have ads, so that's awesome.
I love regular show. It's one of my all-time favorite shows. I think that it's like so good. I could probably write like a doctoral thesis on regular show.
I've never even heard of it.
Google it really quick. It's a weird Cartoon Network show, but it kind of saved Cartoon Network because for a while there, Cartoon Network tried to do like live action as their main thing, which was really weird. But Adventure Time and Regular Show were like part of the era that brought Cartoon Network back to not being bankrupt.
Okay, I've seen memes of these people before, of the bird and the raccoon, it looks like.
Yes,
Yeah,
Raccoon.
Mordecai and Rigby. So it's fantastic. I think it's like really surrealist. I really enjoy animation in general because it like allows you to explore stuff outside of what physical actors can do. You know, there's no limitations to animation.
Especially for Regular Show, it works so well just because like the basic rundown, Chuck, is that Mordecai and Rigby, the bird and the raccoon, work at a park, and they're like supposed to be young 20 something, so naturally they just try to get out of their work every time, and they generally do. But by getting out of their work, they somehow endanger the universe, like summoning the god of basketball, or having a literal like walking giant devil come to the park to try and kill them, or zombies raising. And so it's just like it gets crazier and crazier, and then it just kind of all reverts back to okay at the end of the episode, and that's kind of the main basis of the first seasons, and it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like very much like about like absurdism. You know, nothing matters, but everything does.
So, Tyler, as a animation connoisseur, I am curious what you think of two shows, Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Gravity Falls.
So I've never watched Gravity Falls. The animation style just doesn't vibe with me. It's like a little too cutesy for me. From what I've seen, it looks pretty cool. There's some pretty like deep occult references in it and stuff like that. From what I've seen, so that's neat. And then Aqua Teen Hunger Force is like generation defining for people who grew up on like early 2000s, late 90s humor, stuff like that. Space Ghost Coast to Coast right there with it, you know?
I'm glad you know those, Chuck. I didn't watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force too much. I kind of liked it, but I was a little too young just because I didn't get it. But I did catch the Venture Bros one time, and that started a long passion for me. Do either of you guys know that show?
I had a buddy recommended Venture Bros to me. I think that was Venture Bros. I started it and didn't get into it.
How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, love Venture
Hell
Brothers.
yeah.
It's like that classic Johnny Quest spin, just like far more silly.
It's such a great show, Chuck. I hope you can give it another shot at some point. Season one definitely is a little rough, but the show is just so wonderful. I've converted most of my friend groups into watching it. Like I'll essentially set up Hulu, and one or two of them will go from season one all the way to the end of the show. Sadly, it's over. I'll never recover from that. But I've slowly been converting everyone, even Sierra, into a convert of that show.
I'm really a big fan of what is it, Steven's Universe. My partner showed me that, and that is the gay agenda. So if any of you have questions about what the gay agenda is, watch that show and you'll find out. It's wonderful. It's really nice. I hope it wins. And then China Illinois is another just kind of absurdist classic as far as animation goes, in my opinion.
Holy hell! I haven't thought of China, Illinois in a while. I watched that freshman year of college when I saw a DVD of it at the library, and I was like, "Well, this looks fun." I didn't realize until about halfway through the first season of it that it was the same guy that did the George Washington song on YouTube, which is like an old YouTube classic. But that's a great reference and great show as well, Tyler.
All right, one last show question, and then Vox Cascadia listeners, we need you to tell us what your favorite animated shows are and what I should be watching besides regular show. And Charlie, Illinois, is that what it was?
China, Illinois, like the country.
China, Illinois, China, like the country. Um, Rick and Morty.
I hate it. Rick and Morty's like not good. Like I don't know if it's like actually bad, but like the fans are bad. And then like there's the whole thing with like the voice actor just being a total piece of shit too.
Yeah, was it Justin Roiland? He didn't turn out very good.
No, he unfortunately did not. I caught like the first two seasons. I thought it was pretty fun because I was right in the age group was targeting of like young, dumb 20-year-olds when it was coming out, or like not even 20 at the time, probably it was probably like 19 still, which was according to Chuck like yesterday. But it was okay. But like Tyler said, the fan base really started to suck for it. And then a guy on my dorm floor, which was like a total asshole, was really into the show, which unfortunately kind of ruined it for me because I hated that guy and he was super into the show, and it just completely killed it for me. I was like, I don't want to enjoy something you do.
Tyler, do you think that you could? So Justin Roiland's been canceled, and do you think you could take a objective view of the show and block out the idiots that were on Tyler's floor that made that show their entire personality for a while and give it another viewing?
You mean Connor's floor?
Connor's floor, yeah.
Yeah. Like I watched the first 2 seasons and then like I just couldn't. The Pickle Rick episode is supposed to legitimately be good, which is like it's difficult to say. Like those words coming out of my mouth feel dirty, feels wrong to say, but I don't know if I can ever go back to it. Like there's constantly so much media being uploaded and my backlog is forever extending. To make a intentional step back to Rick and Morty just seems like not really where I would want to go. I'd rather watch something new.
That's totally fair. I can agree with that. It's hard to go back to shows, but I'm about to now suggest, or rather ask you if you guys have gone back to some of the most classic Cartoon Network shows. Not even really Cartoon Network, but they were on it back in Adult Swim. Cowboy Bebop, of course, a classic, and then Samurai Champloo, which was like the same creator and everything.
Do love both of those, and I actually really wanted to like the the live action version of Cowboy Bebop.
Man, I saw Cowboy Bebop on VHS before it was on Adult Swim. So
Okay, perfect. I figured you both had probably seen it, and hopefully you both liked it. But it's always fun because now it's like it's one of those shows I get to introduce to like my younger brother, and that was super fun because he enjoyed the hell out of it, and me and him both love it. But it's just like it's one of those weird shows that like everyone has seen, but unfortunately, it's not as seen by people like younger than me, just because like it's not really a thing anymore. It's not on Cartoon Network as much. You don't accidentally stay up too late and then turn on Cartoon Network and then see some cool sci-fi bounty hunter show and you're like, this is the greatest fucking thing I've ever watched.
All right, well, I'm gonna go check out the regular show and probably Rick and Morty because I do like Rick and Morty. Just not making it my personality. The Office, now that is my personality.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica, baby.
What is it? Impersonation is a crime. Michael!
Very good. I think we just kind of like hit everyone of that age group a little bit of like cringe and love for that show.
Pretty much. So in the comments, tell us. Actually, we didn't even have comments.
And the Instagram comments.
In the Instagram comments, tell us your favorite shows and why Rick and Morty sucks. All right, gentlemen. Well, it's that time where we do the thing where we shill and plug stuff. Tyler, how's the shirts coming? I saw you launched a new colorway for the Dice Thrower one, right?
shirt sales are going good. I just launched that new colorway. I'm printing on the pistachio shirt for the new design, so I figured we'd bring back one of the old designs in that. Yeah, just go ahead and order one from dicethrower.bigcartel.com. Pre-orders are going up until the end of May.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a couple Dice Thrower shirts. I need to get a hoodie, and I saw the pistachio colorway, and I am very tempted by it.
Yeah, I actually think that these are going to be my nicest shirts yet. Not that the previous ones weren't good. I just think this cut of shirt is going to be a little bit better because I'm changing it up on this. It's going to be a bit boxier, a little bit heavier in knit quality and stuff like that, and then custom hem tags in it. Just a few things to push up quality.
And then what's the rumors I hear for tank tops for summer? Sun's out, guns out.
We got the tank tops up for pre-sale already, so
those tank tops are very good. Everyone's looking excited for that, and like Chuck said, that pistachio one definitely grabbing my name. And then a guy, Phil, who just recently came back into the Kill Team community, thankfully in my local area, he saw the camo and the orange one, and he said, as a guy also from like the Midwest, I think he's like from Alabama and Kentucky, like something like that. He said he knows he's gonna have to grab one of those because he's like, it just fits so well for back home. So well done on nailing that aesthetic.
People don't even know how hard the camo and orange is going to go. The graphic really doesn't do it justice. It's like extremely hard to have it show up when it's not like in front of you. Computer screens and phone screens do not show the image great, but it looks sick. My test print that I did looks awesome, and it's going to look even better because we've done some stuff with the image itself to make it pop more.
Nice. Maybe we can get a photo of the test print just so it's like at least a photo of the actual shirt, so it'll come out a little bit better.
Yeah, the test print is like in a different, like it's in the negative of it, so it doesn't properly show, which is why it's not posted up on there. It looks good, but it's like not indicative kind of what it's gonna be.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes sense. But yeah, very excited for that one. It's going to be fun. And I know you've got plenty more other designs on the way. You kind of teased what the next Judge shirt might be. And I definitely want to become a TO if I can get that shirt because it's going to look so cool if the when that eventual one comes out.
Yeah, I'll probably throw that one up as like a, on a little less quality shirt, and then have a specific colorway for the judges, and then for everyone else, I want to keep like my premium kind of like artist hand drawn shirts, and then a general line down the road with some more approachable designs at a little bit lower cost.
Nice. Well, yeah, the designs you keep coming up with are great. I know there's an AdMech one on the way. And like I said, I'm going to end up buying like 12 of those so I can just have one for each day of the week or something and then wash my clothes. Yeah, everyone check out Tyler's cool shirts. They're gonna keep being awesome, and it was very fun at the event. There was like of the 13 players there's something like 6 or 7 of us in dice thrower merch, which was very fun.
You know what I thought about we should have done for Blunt Force Beatdown is we should have actually, since Tyler couldn't make it, we should have had everybody who had some dice thrower swag line up and get a picture to send to you, and it would have been probably like half the people there. So I apologize that I didn't think about it until afterwards.
I mean, I do make the nicest shirts in the hobby. You know, you won't find anywhere or anyone that's making stuff that's quite as high quality as what I'm throwing out there.
And then we have the Colossal Cagematch coming up on May 18th at Comics Keep in Bremerton, Washington. There is 6 tickets left, actually. So it's pretty close to sold out. We have a few spots left. Connor, you're going to be there. Tyler, you'll be there. I'll be there. Eric will be there.
Yes, super excited for that. I've been doing a ton of work trying to make sure everyone knows it. Somehow some people didn't realize it was in Washington, so I'm going to be making sure everyone knows it is. It's in Washington, Bremerton, Washington. So for any of you Washington folks that can't make it down to Oregon for our sick ass events, come to this one because it's going to be just as sick. Like Chuck said, we only got 6 tickets left. I know some other people are planning on signing up, so just make sure you do soon. It's going to be super fun. I want to make sure we fill it as fast as possible to get as much kick-ass prize support as possible. I think I've maybe mentioned it once or twice already, but if you are into the Joy Toy line of miniatures, this is definitely the event to come to. The store Comics Keep has like one of the most impressive collections of those minis I've ever seen. And having seen them in person now, I'm very tempted because they are way higher quality than I realized. So there's that, and they have a great line of selections. And you get to come play us in Kill Team and yell at me about how much I love AdMech. So that's always fun. Sign up, and I'll love you forever.
And I know that Tyler actually ordered the belt for it because since this is our season of wrestling tournaments, we have a belt for this one as well too. And we're not gonna, are we gonna show pictures of it? Maybe not, but it does fit the theme of the cage match with the colorway on it.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to make sure that all of the belts are very different from each other. You know, they all kind of have their own unique feel, that they mark a specific event for us. And I'm really excited about this one. Once it shows up at my door, I will definitely post up some teaser pictures because I know everyone likes those.
Yeah, the even some of the guys that don't play Kill Team at the store heard us talking about it, and then I showed them pictures for the tag team one and the Blunt Force, and they're like, "Dude, that's sick! I'm about to learn Kill Team just to try and earn that belt." I'm like, "You better!" So if you want to win a belt, come to the event, and if you want to have a good time, also come to the event.
And then I'm Chuck. You can find me at Painting Cave Minis on Instagram, where I post very infrequently. Tyler is Lowbrow Minis on Instagram, and Connor is at Spanaway everywhere. SPANNAWAY or something like that.
Correct. You nailed it. And make sure, of course, you're following us at Vox_Cascadia on Instagram. I'll probably at some point get that up on Twitter and Threads and all the other crappy social media stuff. But for right now, Instagram's the best place to use it because I can post photos easily and more than 4. So make sure you follow us there. We'll be asking questions, doing polls, all that fun stuff. And eventually, as it grows, I'm going to try and do some really fun stuff with the projects there too.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for listening. If you could do us a huge favor, give us a 5-star review and a rating on wherever you listen to us. And right now we're on Apple and Spotify. If you'd like to hear us someplace else, let us know. I need to do some stuff with the RSS feed that Tyler told me to a couple weeks ago and haven't had time. So hopefully you'll be able to hear us in more places. Sorry, Tyler.
It should just be a button you click, man.
I don't do buttons. I'm not a toaster lover.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say buttons are
Bono.
my thing.
Yeah, buttons are for toasters.